All right, guys, so Cyberpunk comes out today. Performance numbers are a big question, and I did a video on the 7th when Tom's Hardware published their early performance charts, and I didn't show all of them here because, again, I wanted people to have a reason to go back to that article. But if you go back to that article now, they have an editor's note. At the request of the publisher, we have edited this article to remove some benchmark figures taken before the Day Zero patch that may not be representative of the consumer Day One experience. And I did mention in that video, now, looking at the comment section, I think a lot of people skipped my intro. So I did update the description and a comment here to say that, yeah, these were without the Day Zero patch. They don't have the driver update from Nvidia. They have a reviewer-specific DRM installed, which can affect performance. So we should expect performance better than this. Now, I wouldn't expect performance to double or anything like that, but we should expect better performance than what we saw in these charts. And I did say that in the video and comments and description. Hopefully, people picked up on that, because in the comment section, I think people were maybe a little overly negative. But again, like, what kind of performance jump can we expect here when we actually get this game? Well, we don't have to wait that much longer. Game releases here pretty soon. But I was going to report on some information here where I was seeing charts, articles like this from WCCF Tech and also at like videocards.com saying that that Nvidia has confirmed and released some charts for performance, specifically with RTX and DLSS technologies, and they've released some graphs here. Now, the interesting thing for me, though, is when I tried to follow up on where their links like actually took me to, they would take me to places that, well, didn't have these charts that they have. So I'm kind of under the impression that, and again, they took me to this like more games added with Minecraft, RTX, and DLSS, blah, blah, blah. So more games with DLSS and RTX from this Nvidia post here. But all the other games have these charts, but the Cyberpunk one doesn't. It just has a video demonstrating what it looks like. So I'm under the impression that what happened here is that Nvidia originally must have posted this article with some performance charts here for Cyberpunk, and then was maybe asked to take them down again or something like that. Because just like with the Tom's Hardware article. Now, I don't see any mention of that here, but that does seem to be the case. However, this article here at WCCF Tech and the one here at Video Cards do show us the graphs. So why don't we just jump in here and see what we see, right, from these. And then, you know, we can hope that through patches and things like that, the game will get even better performance as we go. All right, let's see. I am kind of in the way here, so let's just make myself move. Magic of green screen. Ah, there I am. Okay. So at 4K, we're seeing performance from the 3090, the 3080, and the 2080 Ti. Again, these were published by Nvidia, so we don't know for sure if these include like the Day Zero patch and Nvidia's latest graphics drivers, but in the WCCF article, they're at least speculating that Nvidia has worked with the developers at CD Projekt Red in implementing its RTX features in the game. These new performance metrics should have the final performance optimizations for PC in place. So, again, though, that's not confirmation to me. That's just saying that that's what this author at WCCF Tech thinks is the case. So, I don't know. I would also think that to be the case, but we don't know for sure. Okay, so we're seeing here the RTX 3090, 3080, and 2080 Ti at 4K, and this is specifically with ultra graphics and ultra ray tracing. Okay, and the green color here is without DLSS, and then we get boosted up here with DLSS, and that's the performance mode, right? That's where it renders at a lower internal resolution than like the quality one would to get you an even bigger boost in performance. And it's looking like to run this game at Ultra with Ultra Ray Tracing, the 3090, first of all, without DLSS, has absolutely no chance at all. and then even with DLSS, isn't quite hitting 60 frames per second. Although, you know, that would still be a pretty good average and perfectly playable, especially if you have a G-Sync, FreeSync kind of setup where that's going to help you out on everything feeling nice and smooth. Now the 3080, again, also without DLSS performance, not having a chance, but then with it, doing pretty well. And again, here's the 2080 Ti, and we know that the 2080 Ti has similar performance to a 3070, although it's interesting to me that they didn't put the 3070 on here. I have some speculation about this. The 3070 has 8 gigabytes of VRAM. The 2080 Ti has 11, right? So I'm wondering if at 4K with ultra graphics and ultra ray tracing, they're hitting that 8 gigabyte limit and they're not including the 3070 on here for that reason. I wonder if this is one of the games where it's going to tank a bit there. But we don't know for sure, right? That's just me speculating on why that wouldn't be on this particular graph. Now that's 4K. Most people aren't playing at 4K, although if you have these types of cards, maybe you are. So let's take a look down at 1440p, which is much more likely to be where people are at with this game. Notice that now they do throw in the 3070 and the 2080 Ti and the 3060 Ti. And notice, again, that 3070 is performing almost identically to the 2080 Ti, which is, again, why I was curious about its absence in this chart, right? You see what I'm saying? Okay. Because they are including it in the charts, just not that one. So I think we're past the 8 gigabyte limit there at 4K Ultra everything, which wouldn't be surprising at all. Anyway, so at 1440p, where the 3070 and the 3060 Ti make more sense, they're, again, not delivering a solid 60 frames per second, even with DLSS quality. I want to make sure we got this right. Okay, so what are the... Okay, so yeah, I was going to say the performance mode, but then I'm seeing that this says quality mode. I was misinterpreting that for just a second. Sorry, guys. I can read. Yeah, so this is DLSS quality mode. So if you drop this to DLSS performance mode, you should get even better frame rates. So if you were on one of these cards and you wanted to get 60, I think that would help you out quite a bit. And again, this is now at 1080p. Thankfully, all these cards seem to be able to deliver a healthy 60 frames per second at 1080p with DLSS. Again, without DLSS, even at 1080p with ultra graphics and ultra ray tracing, yeah, even the 3080 hitting that 60 native, and 3090 beating the 60 native, but that's at 1080p. So again, what to make of these charts? These charts, as we said, were apparently released by Nvidia. And so, take that for what it is. They're from Nvidia themselves, so they want to make DLSS look good. So they are from Nvidia. Apparently, as far as I can tell, they've been taken down. We could assume, because it's Nvidia, that they would probably have the latest patches and things, but we don't actually know that for sure. I am very hopeful that maybe these don't have the final patches, and maybe that's why they were taken down, along with the Tom's Hardware thing. But again, it was from Nvidia, so you think they would have, thought that through. Well, what I can take from this is that I definitely want to be using DLSS on this game. And, I'm just really interested to see how this shakes out for you guys. That's what I got for you. And you know what? One last thought here. So I do think that people need to think about the performance in this game, because yes, it's a first-person game and even has some shooting in it. So you might be thinking of it as a first-person shooter, right? But this is an actual RPG. And from what I've seen, huge sections of the game don't even have first-person shooting combat. And there's oftentimes ways through those situations that don't involve combat. So I would say that this isn't some fast-paced shooter where you need 120 frames per second or something like that. Also, just a thought, now I'm going to try this out for myself, but I've noticed personally, in games in games where the frame rate isn't living up to what I'd like it to be, sometimes I break out one of these, and I don't mean a console, I mean a controller. And I agree, in first-person games, especially shooters, I prefer the mouse and keyboard. But if my frame rate isn't great, the slower and smoother movement of the analog sticks oftentimes feels better than swinging around quickly on a mouse, where things look a lot more obviously choppy and you see the performance issues. Anyway, if you just don't want to touch a controller in a first-person game, I don't blame you, that's fine. I'm throwing that out there as something to consider to make things seem smoother, maybe, than they otherwise would. All right, guys, what do you make of these charts? And what do you make of the fact that they seem to have been taken down by Nvidia on their own website, although apparently they must have been posted at some point for places like these to have gotten them, right? Links to everything I showed you today down in the in the description to the video. And you excited for this game? I'm gonna be trying it out. We'll see what the performance looks like on my 2070 tonight. Hope you guys have an excellent day.